Hey, how's it going, everybody? Josh here with Desert Gardens Homestead. So I wanted to give everybody a look at my permaculture swales here in the Sonoran Desert. This is going to be year 7 having these 2 swales on the rear part of my property, and I just wanted to give you an overview of the swales and what I'm doing with them. And right behind my house we have some untouched nature, some desert behind us, state land. And in the far distance, I have a very large wash back there. When we receive our monsoon rains, the wash will fill up and it will overflow and it will actually pour into the rear of my property. And so in the desert, we do have risks of flash flooding, which was the primary purpose of me installing these 2 swales. This first swale is about 180 feet long. It is on contour, and I have 3 overflow spills. So I have one here at the end. This is where it starts, right at my fence line. It's approximately 4 feet wide by about, maybe 2 to 2.5 feet deep. There's the first overflow. I have these blocks here because my water line actually runs under there. So in order to keep that protected and insulated, I made a little block wall. And the bricks and such that I have over here is where the water comes in, and it does come in with velocity at points, which causes erosion. And so I've really kind of built up that whole backside so that it would prevent the erosion, and then it'll fill up there, and then it comes through and continues to snake around here. And unfortunately this past summer it was just so dry that the swales, in the first time, this is the first time out of 7 years that my swales did not fill up. The winter we did get more rain, but it was a very slow draining or slow rain event, so nothing flash flood, no rapid movement of water, so it just soaked in. But these are essentially how I would, if things ever took a turn for the worst and we had to go into survival mode, this is my primary means for water catchment. And so, I've always thought that I could reliably fill these up multiple times a year. But this last summer, if it was just a fluke or not, I'm not sure, but they didn't fill up at all, which was a little concerning for me. So I'll just have to continue to monitor that. But as you can see, it's a huge swale. Like I said, about 180 feet for this first one. And it ends right here at the other neighbor's fence. And so walking to the second swale, this one's smaller. This one's about 130 feet, so about 50 feet less, about the same width, depth. This one has one spillway right in the center. So once this one fills up, it'll spill right into this one in 3 locations. And then this one will fill up and then spill into my overflow pond, which I also use as a double for a burn pit, which I'm burning right now, burning some boxes. And so that is permaculture in its greatest, is having dual uses for everything. Ideally, permaculture swales would be tree growing systems, but in my case, I used to get a lot of water come through when we'd have heavy water movements, and it would go down either side of my house and it would wash out. I would have little rivers running down both sides of my lot line. And so putting in the swales solved that problem for me. I no longer have the little rivers. I'm catching everything and then I'm sinking it. And so that was the primary purpose of the swale for me. Secondarily was to sink all that water and to have it go down grade. So as we're looking is the downgrade. And eventually over years that will plume out, and it will make my landscape just more drought resistant, drought tolerant. And so that was the second primary purpose. And then the third purpose, this is all about a 1/4 acre back here, and this is where I allow my goats to come back and graze. And so my goats are allowed back here to graze, and also they like to play on the permaculture swales. And so that is my third purpose of having my swales back here. So with the goats and their grazing, I don't think I can ever establish these as tree bearing systems, But in my case, that's really not the main purpose of my swales. It's more or less just to stop the water and to sink it, and then I can use that downgrade. But if anything ever happened in the future and I needed to become more self-sufficient, this would be my primary means to catch water. And then once I had it in the swales, if you see in the distance, I have two 2,500 gallon water tanks, and then I could just manually, with like 5-gallon buckets maybe, go and fill those back up every rain event. So that is just my primary means here in the desert to have some self-sufficiency with water, and to make use of the land with the earthworks that I have here to help my goats, to allow this water to sink back here and to hydrate this land so it would be better grazing land for my goats. And so I'm not quite sure how much water I can sink here. I believe it would be a very large amount. Just roughly guessing, I've never done any math, but I'm thinking maybe 100,000 gallons. And I just kind of came to that conclusion after thinking I have a swimming pool that's 13,000 gallons. And I bet you I could probably fit maybe 10 of my swimming pools inside of these 2 swales and my pond. So that is just my thought process. But these are very, very neat systems. I absolutely love to, when we do have a very heavy monsoon, to come out here and just see them in action. To have this one completely full, they look like little rivers. And then to see this first one spilling over into the second swale, to have that one fill up and the ponds filled up. It's happened once to where they've all filled up on a very strong rain event, and I started getting nervous when the pond was completely full and this second swell started backing up a little bit. But by the time that happened, the rain event was over. So I've never had too much capacity of water back here to where these swells couldn't handle it. But my problem right now is I'm not getting any action. I haven't had them full here in, maybe a year or so. So that's a little concerning for me. But I will see how this year goes. I know last year was just a really dry, hot year here in the Sonoran Desert. So I'm hoping this next year is a little bit on the wetter side of things. So if you have any questions regarding permaculture swales or how these have worked out for me here, I would be happy to answer any questions. As I said, these are tree growing systems, but with my goats, I really can't do a whole lot. I have entertained thoughts of doing some bamboo back here, some running bamboo. I'm just not quite there yet. I haven't made it back this far on my property as far as landscaping. As you can see, I'm close. I'm right there, kind of back where those tanks are, is about as far back as I've come. So I'm getting close to being ready to do something back here. I'm just not quite sure what I would do. If anybody has any thoughts on things that I could plant, I would want it to benefit the goats, to have it as goat fodder or something of that nature that, maybe I could protect for a little bit, but then allow it just to go and allow it to benefit the goats and vice versa. And so once again, I surely appreciate you stopping in and taking a look at these permaculture swales. I surely appreciate you checking out this channel and video, and hope you have a great day. God bless you all. Take care. Bye-bye.